everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of Dallas Hoops Fancast, a podcast for Mavs fans. I'm your host, Sydney, and I'm here with my co-host, Martin.
No, I don't know why you delayed. Okay.
Told you.
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
You sounded as that was as strong of a statement as the Mavs statement jersey.
Yes.
Yes, I am here.
I am here.
You. Okay, Mavericks Media Day was yesterday, or Monday, depending on when you're listening to this. We're going to share and discuss our 5 most important quotes from the team. So what we think is like the most impactful or that says the most about the coming season or the players. And then speaking of the coming season, we're going to try to predict Kristaps Porzingis production by using a little math. We're going to look at NBA players who have torn their ACL in the past and then try to get an idea of what Porzingis will do in his first season back based on what those players did their first season back. It's going to be interesting. We'll dig into that. But first, I want to share a cool announcement, not the intro yet. Just a few days ago, we launched our official website, DallasHoopsCast.com. You can visit it now or preferably after you listen to this episode. It's www.DallasHoopsCast.com. So I want to kind of discuss it a little bit. First of all, why did we start this site and what will you find there? So the goal of DallasHoopsCast.com is really the same goal that we had when we started this podcast. We wanted to make something that was everything we looked for in a Mavs podcast. So ad-free, fueled by fan emotion, which I think you guys have noticed, a little biased sometimes, but focus solely on the Mavericks and just fun to listen to. And so that's the same goal of DallasHoopsCast.com. We wanted to build a Mavericks blog that was everything we would want it to be. So again, it's ad-free. It's designed with fans in mind. Our editorial mission is to celebrate the Mavericks past, present, and future in ways MFFLs will love. So go to the site and take a look around. I think you'll see that goal and that mission played out throughout the entire website. But what will you find on DallasHoopsCast.com? So you'll be able to read exclusive in-depth articles like the one we're going to talk about with Porzingis in this episode. You can listen to new episodes of our podcast and catch up on news. Now, this is not a news site. There are tons of great news, Mavericks news sites out there. We're not trying to compete with them. This is a fan-driven blog. So we're going to dig into the Mavericks and deliver the kind of quality and depth of coverage that I think you've come to expect from this podcast. So that's what you can expect. That's why we made it. Really, in order to understand the kind of experience that I'm trying to describe here, you really just have to go visit it. So bookmark DallasHoopsCast.com, follow the site on Twitter at DallasHoopsCast, and subscribe to the Dallas Hoopscast newsletter if you're not on Twitter, but you still want to know whenever we publish new articles and new episodes. You can also follow me on Twitter at _Sydney Myers. And
we got to the intro now.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yeah,
smooth
Dallas
transition.
Hoopscast. So yeah, that's the site, DallasHoopsCast.com. I'm pretty excited about it. You can just go visit it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but I'm excited about it. Go visit it and let us know what you think. If you have any feedback or if you run into like problems or something's not working or anything like that, send us a message or there's a contact form. You can fill that out. Let us know. That way we can kind of dig into it and fix it. But let's get to the episode.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. I feel like that was kind of a little bit longer of an intro than we usually do, but
that's saying something.
Yeah. It was good. Oh, also, remember, wherever you're listening, please leave a rating or review. We appreciate it very much.
Can't forget that.
Okay.
That's some
now
biggest part of the intro.
Now let's get to the episode.
Okay.
So, Mavs Media Day was Monday, and obviously there was a ton of coverage. And so I really just wanted to talk about the 5 most important quotes from Media Day.
You know, before you even get into it, that's actually quite hard because
to pick the only 5.
Well, only 5, and also because it seems like every other question was Luka and Porzingis, how are they going to play together?
Yeah, or are you guys excited for this season?
Oh, no.
No,
we're not. Thank you for asking me that stupid question.
But I think the first thing that you wanted to get into was Carlisle's comments on Luka's. So let me read the quote since that's the the shtick here. Important quote. So Carlisle on Luka's stats possibly going down. He said, last year was a stat-driven year because of the situation we were in, because he was in a big statistically driven Rookie of the Year race. This year is going to be different. He's playing with more players. He's playing with another star caliber player with Porzingis. So the dynamics of stats are going to be way different. There are going to be a lot of guys that are double-figure scorers on this team. His stats may go down. That like different order than what he said that, but basically his stats might go down because he's playing with better players.
Well, the first part though, he says that almost like they were stat padding. So they wanted him to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. You know,
I love that because he should have won Rookie of the Year.
They did the right thing, but I'm just saying, like, you know, my biggest concern is where he says his stats might go down, and that scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I understand Carlisle is all about team basketball and balance
flow
and all that. You know, but as a player, you also do have individual achievements you would like to have, and I don't think in Luka's second year that he wants to sacrifice all of his individual achievements that he potentially could get. Especially when they're not really going to win a championship this year. Now, if this was like year 7 and they had a superstar team, okay, instead of averaging 21, 6, and 7, he averaged 18, 7, and 7 or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But just the very next year, we're already talking about his stats may not be as good. That concerns me a little bit.
And we used to think this, like, man, how many points could Dirk could have scored?
Yeah.
Like, how many other accolades could he have? Or... you know, and this is what we were saying about Luka's stats is that because of Carlisle's offense, no one is really going to average more than 24 points a game. And that was Dirk, who averaged 24, and he's one of the greatest of all time. And he happened to be extremely efficient. So for Luka...
Because he didn't get very many shots.
Yeah, he had to be efficient. But, you know, outside of one of the greatest players of all time, in Carlisle's offense, no one's really going to average a ton of points.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because he talks about that's really the best way to win. But...
they've lost a lot of games.
Well, and not just that, but in 2011, in the playoffs... Dirk averaged like 28 points a game. So clearly you need that guy.
And they pretty much just gave
him the ball, especially at the end of the game. Yeah. So, you know, I understand there have been years where we were so frustrated with Carlisle's offense because we would like just give the ball to Dirk. It was so frustrating watching whoever out there take shots. And it made me nervous about this year because it's like just... if it's not Luka shooting, it should be Porzingis.
Yeah.
And if one of them two don't get an open shot, then somebody else can get it. We shouldn't be running a bunch of pick and roll with anybody else, really.
Well, Barea brought up a good point. So Barea commented on the same thing. He said about Luka's performance, that's going to be on him. He knows it's going to be a tough year. They're really going to go after him this year. But if somebody could jump pretty quickly to that level, it could be him. So, like, defenses, he's completely scouted. And so they're going to load up on him. One, because they know how good he is. And also because the Mavericks are going to be better. And so teams just already know they have to play better against the Mavs, but particularly Luka.
I mean, I felt like they did that towards the second half of the season anyways. I mean, he had Paul George guarding him and Kawhi and Pascal and all that.
Pascal.
You know, so I don't know if that is going to be, if anything, it'll be easier because Porzingis will be out there and they'll have to help off of Luka. If they don't, then Porzingis is going to kill them.
Yeah.
So it just made me nervous because, you know, last season was fun because Luka had the ball a lot. And now we know why, because they were trying to get him to win Rookie of the Year. But if we can look back in the short history of Carlisle, there have been some very frustrating moments because we're like, why are we running this offense
play through Wesley Matthews
through anybody else?
Yeah, just name a random Maverick that we're going to instead of Dirk.
And I just don't want Luka to have to sacrifice his individual achievements so we can potentially get the 8th playoff spot.
Yeah, or, you know, like we said, I think last year, or just in years past, that, Carlisle didn't want to ride Dirk too much. So he didn't want to play him, 40 minutes a game or have him take 30 shots, and we got all of that. But there were some times where just give him a few more shots, but he didn't want to, put too much of a load on him. And it's like, yeah, but you're sacrificing wins. Like, I hate to lose this game, and at the end of the year, we're not in the playoffs, but at least Dirk didn't take too many shots.
Yeah.
Like, I understand managing minutes. I'm okay with that. But
I think he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So if he were 33,
it'd be different.
You got a different, different story. But so that's quote number one. It made me nervous.
Yes, I agree. And that might be a storyline in the season, but I'm going to try not to harp on it too much because I just don't want to anymore. Like, there's so many things that Carlisle does that's frustrating to me, but it's just the way he is. It's the way that he coaches the team. He's the coach.
And I know this shouldn't bother me, but it kind of does. And that's everybody says Luka's already hit his ceiling.
Oh, outside.
Yeah. They're always, but he ain't going to get any better because he hit his ceiling or whatever, all that. And if he comes into next year averaging 18, 6, and 6, then that's going to be the storyline. And I just don't want that. Like,
Well, and Carlisle said, that's what sucks is that so many people rate players based on their stats.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like he averaged 21 points. I think it's possible to average that or more than that, even in Carlisle's system. I mean, we'll see. But
look, if Durant and Steph Curry can both average 26, 27
they're
points
extremely
a game.
efficient, though.
Yeah,
it'll be up to Luka. Is he going to be an efficient player? So I think, in terms of important quotes, this is one that I think it says a lot about the season.
Another thing, though, Luka is not Dirk. Luka will complain if he doesn't get the ball.
Maybe.
I mean, he did it in his against early on in the season in his rookie year. In a game against the Spurs in San Antonio, he wasn't getting the ball.
Oh, that was the one when I posted that video.
Yes. And then
Give me the freaking ball.
Yes. Not as nice, though.
Yeah.
And that's like at first 20 games of his rookie year, and he's already complaining that he better have the ball. And so he's not like Dirk, where Dirk's just going to... I know that he says he's about team winning.
Yeah, he did say, like, whatever the coach says, he's the coach, that's what he's going to do.
Yes, but if you're not winning...
Yeah, I mean...
And he's not getting the ball.
Yeah.
He's not going to just stand there and be like, whenever the coach wants to do. No, he's going to give me the freaking ball. I'll make a play happen.
I think they'll be winning, though. Just... Yeah. And we'll get into that in... Actually, let's just go into it now on expectations. So we just watched the Carlisle's press conference yesterday, obviously Mavs Media Day. And I got to tell you, like, he sounds... excited, like pretty much as excited as Carlisle can sound, but he sounded like really optimistic about the season. Like he was gushing about Luka, about all of the players, really about how good they can be, the fit, the camaraderie, the chemistry. Like, as a coach, you want to be careful about setting those kind of expectations, but he seemed all into it. Like he's really, and all of them are.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw him like that was the last year of Monte, going into that season where we had Tyson, we had Chandler Parsons, Dirk, Monte, and Jameer Nelson was the starter before the dumb trade for Rondo.
Yeah,
he was like kind of the same way. He really liked his team, and they started out 27-12 or something that season.
Yeah, so here's the quote. And this, I think, is actually just kind of spread out over a whole press conference. But he said, people are justifiably excited. We're excited internally. A big part of my job is to manage expectations on a day-to-day basis. But I'll just say that the excitement is justified. This is going to be a fun team to watch. This is going to be a fun team to watch develop over time. The really exciting part of it is the depth we have at all positions. And then he just, like I said, went on and on about Porzingis and Luka and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jalen Brunson. I mean, he obviously has high expectations. Now, no one is saying, like, no one's putting a number on what those expectations are. We've talked about, possibly 42 wins, 41, maybe even 50 wins. After watching like all of these press conferences, now I'm like, well,
60.
I don't know. Yeah, like everyone is so excited, but it was interesting to hear him be that excited about the team.
Yeah. Is this one of our main quotes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I agree. I think he's right. We have every reason to be excited. I mean, how long have we been waiting for Luka and KP to see them on the court together? In that first preseason game, we're going to be watching every minute to see the first pick and roll. And it's preseason, so we're so excited.
Well, and it's not even just seeing Luka and KP, but just how long have we been waiting for the next generation?
Yeah.
Dirk, really since 2011, honestly.
I mean, Dirk is gone. This is going to be...
It's perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's too early and it wouldn't feel right. But now it's just the perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited about it. One thing that he talked about was having depth at all positions. And he talked a lot about Justin Jackson, Dorian Finney-Smith. And I got to say, I think he must see things in them that I just don't see. And that's fair because he sees more of them. Like he sees them in practice and he sees what they've been working on.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to be that positive. You can't go out there and be like, well, we really don't have any depth at our small forward position, and you have those two players standing right there.
Not that he would say that, but just don't say anything. Over him. Yeah. So I mean, it's like I've said before, both of them seem like
nice players.
They're nice players, but they seem like they work hard, they're coachable. So I'm willing to let's start the season fresh and see what they can do. I do think that they don't have depth at all positions, but I guess we'll see. But it was cool to see that much excitement really from everyone.
Well, the last couple of years have sucked for him. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the league, and he's coaching this 24-58 Mavs team.
Yeah. And really just for several years, it's been kind of tough. And a lot of the players, I can't tell you how many times I heard the word playoffs. Every player was like, I think we can make the playoffs. We want to make the playoffs. That's our goal is to make the playoffs. Like they're clearly, it's not just, we have a young core. Let's see what we can do, or let's win as many as possible. But it's like, no, we plan on making the playoffs this year.
They said the same thing last year.
Yeah. And like, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Well, obviously every team wants to make the playoffs.
Before all the trade, where we traded half the team, we weren't that far out. And there was a period of time there where the Mavericks were 15-11 and they were like fifth or something in the West. So they were in the playoff conversation.
Okay, so third most important quote from Mavs Media Day, Luka on life after Dirk. He said, Dirk's been here 21 years. I want to stay here and follow Dirk's steps. Building a winning culture is important. We want to go to the playoffs, and I think we can. That's my goal this season. The whole team is excited about this season. And later on, he said, basically, he wants to be here for as long as the team will have him. Which, I mean, not saying that's not going to change, but I like his outlook.
It's funny because it's kind of like you can take a breath. Like, okay, and it may not be true, but at least you don't have that constant.
Right now,
at least. It's constantly hanging over everybody's head. Is Luka going to leave? Is Luka going to leave?
Yeah.
And at least he's saying, look, as long as they want me, I'll stay.
Yeah.
Honestly, it made me feel good because I was like, oh, okay, we don't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
Maybe he will stay here for the majority of his career.
Well, there's always the political statement or a politically correct statement of like, well, I want to win. So as long as, we have a winning team, I want to be a part of that. Basically saying I'm here as long as it works for me. But he didn't say that. He just said, I want to be here.
As long as they want me. Yeah.
So I thought that was good. I mean, he's only in his second year, so we have at least a few years before I
think 7 is typically the amount of years
because you have your rookie contract, and then you usually just
get your rookie extension.
That. Yeah. Okay, fourth most important. Oh, this was interesting. Carlisle on Porzingis load management. He said, I don't think we'll play him back to back. My understanding is that he's able to participate in training camp without limitations. I think it's conceivable that back-to-backs will be something we look at early in the season, not playing him in back-to-backs, but I don't know for sure. I don't know how he's going to be feeling at that point. He may be insisting on playing, but I do believe in his case, and in the case of any player like that, you're going to err on the side of caution. So,
yeah, I watched Porzingis answer the same question.
Yeah.
And the whole thought of load management, it's almost like the whole organization, all the fans, everybody was like, he needs to sit 15 games or whatever.
Yeah.
And when he was asked that question, he really wasn't a big fan. Like his goal was to play all 82 games.
Yeah.
That was the whole point
Of sitting out for 2 years.
Yes, and building his body and correcting it so his body could handle a full season. Now, he did leave it open that if as the season progresses and it becomes necessary, then but in his mind, he doesn't want to hear the term load management. Like he wants to play all 82 games. That may change, but I think that was his whole point of putting in all this work that he's done to get his body to where it's at so he can do that. And the last thing he wants to hear right now is load management.
Yeah. I mean, I know he talked about how he wanted to play last season, but he wanted to come back completely 100%. And so, I think to your point, like the point of that was so that he could play without having to worry about his knee or am I playing too much or how's everything holding up? Like he put on a lot of weight. He said he came in as a rookie at 223 pounds. He now weighs 242 pounds. I'll move on to our fifth important quote because it's on the same thing. So Carlisle talking about building strength with Porzingis, he said, basically, it's not enough to just be strong. You have to have strength in ways that put you in a position to be better balanced with everything that you're doing. And yes, that helps your skill set, it helps your game, but it also helps you to be in a position to land better and hopefully be in a position to prevent certain types of injuries.
Go ahead.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
That was, I think, the whole point of everything that they worked on was that very purpose to change a lot of that stuff. So when he does land, his knees aren't bent and his ankles aren't all bent all awkwardly. He lands the right way. He's got strength in areas that they need to have strength so that way one tendon or one muscle doesn't take too much pressure whenever he moves. That was the whole point of everything. So hopefully it will actually work and he won't have injury problems.
Yeah, and he talked about it. Carlisle talked about it, but just the way that they, like what his rehab actually was and how much they worked on it. Porzingis talked about not just putting on muscle, but really figuring out his body and the balance and how he needed to move. And like you were saying, what muscle he needed in what places. And so I think having that kind of, like, that's a really, I don't know what structured, it's a really detail oriented rehab. And so I think, the point of that was so that he could play and not have a season of extra rehab. Yeah.
And we were talking before and about how this whole new age approach to health and your body and making sure everything's right when you're playing basketball, your diet, the way you move, it's really kind of a new thing that's happened over the last couple of years. Porzingis is really kind of the guinea pig here to see if it really does work. Because here you have a player that did have a lot of injury problems, was out, missed a lot of time for various things. And now he put in this whole new approach and changed everything that he was doing. So it'll be a good test really to see if it works going forward. So if you have another player that has a serious injury, you can kind of talk about the same thing with them.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so those were the 5 important quotes from Mavs Media Day, things that I think kind of say a lot about what we can expect this season. But speaking of Porzingis rehab, I want to get into our next topic, which is that basically what can we expect from Kristaps this season after not playing NBA basketball for 20 months. I mean, that's almost 2 years. And so this is actually one of the first articles that we published on DallasHoopsCast.com. So you can go read the full article there. But basically what we did was we took data from every single player that tore his ACL in the NBA and compared their stats from before the injury to the season that they came back. So there have been 99 NBA players who torn their ACL since 1970. When we did this research, I guess, we narrowed that list down to 69. We took out some players who They weren't actually in the NBA yet. Some of them never played a game again after their ACL injury, not because it's career ending, just because they were older or they were averaging like 5 minutes a game anyways. So we got the list down to 69 and we looked at the stats before their injury and then the season they came back. So it's not a career projection. It's just the
very
year.
first season.
Yeah, just this year, what can we expect? And Martin made an excellent Power BI report. It was amazing. But we broke it down into 4 segments. We're going to talk about one of those segments. You can read about the data for the other 3 segments on the blog in the article. But one of the segments is the tallest players. So Porzingis is actually the tallest player to tear his ACL. So the next few tallest players, how did they fare when they came back? And then we just looked at the data from all the players, and then we broke it down to players that were under 22 at the time of their injury and players that were under 25 at the time of their injury. Porzingis was 22, so it's kind of the same age group. So those first 3 segments, the tallest players, all of the players, and under 22, you can read and see the data, the differences in the article. We're going to talk about the players that were age 25 or under when they tore their ACL. And so the season that they came back, here were the averages of how their game was impacted. So minutes per game declined by 12%, points per game declined by 19.6%, rebounds per game declined by 13%, assists per game declined by 14.3%, blocks per game declined by 20%, and field goal percentage declined by 5.1%. So right off the bat, there were declines in every category. Mm-hmm. Was that surprising to you? Or was any of that worrying, or you didn't think it was going to be like that? Or was it worse than you thought it would be?
Well, I didn't really know what it was going to be. Yeah. I was a little discouraged, I guess, when I saw that basically every statistical category was a negative compared to pre-injury. Yeah. So I was so excited, oh no, he's not going to have any problems. He's going to come right back in and blah, blah, blah. But there is a real chance that he maybe doesn't struggle, but he hasn't returned to the 22.7 guy that we saw, the all-star that we saw before the Mavericks got him. And you're probably looking at more like 18 a game.
Yeah.
And 30 minutes a game.
Yeah. And honestly, there's so many things about Porzingis that make him actually unique. And not just saying that he's unique, but he actually is unique in this situation. So like I said earlier, he's the tallest player ever to tear his ACL, which I think is, what are the odds? He's 7'3". The next tallest were Robert Swift and Jerome James, who were 7'1". He's also pretty young. He's 22. I think it was 16 of those 99 players or 16 of the 69 players were 22 or younger when they tore their ACL. Mm-hmm. He's also going to be on a completely different team this year. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that make him unique. So it's to a certain extent, this data does apply to him, but there's just so many things that are different.
When you looked at the numbers in the article for the players that are 22 and younger, they actually came back and had a normal career.
Yeah, I mean, a small sample size,
yes, but I think all of them really had a regular career after that. If they were good beforehand, they were good afterward. Yeah. The other difference is this isn't technically Luka's first year back. I mean, it's his first year playing. What'd I say, Luka?
Luka, yeah.
I just can't get him out of my head. So Porzingis it's not really his. I mean, I know it's his first year playing basketball, but it's not his first year after the injury. He sat out 2 years. So these players, they didn't sit out that additional year. This is all right after they were cleared to play. And I read or heard or something. I saw an article or something about a doctor who said that someone that tears their ACL, really, you should take 2 years off because your knee just doesn't fully recover until after 2 years. And that's essentially what Porzingis did. So I think that that may impact the numbers. We may not see the dip. At least I'm hoping we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think only a few of these players well, most of them obviously sat at a full season. Some of them didn't miss a full
Right,
season, though.
yeah.
But most of them missed a full season. Some of them played overseas for a year, but then it was very few. Like the majority of them, missed a full season. So again, he's unique in that way in that he was out for 20 months.
And the technology and the way we understand
Yeah.
health is so much different nowadays than when it used to be a career-ending injury. Now players can come back in 6 months, just like the Achilles used to be a career-ending injury. Now players can come back and play through that.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, some guys never came back after the injury. Well, a few of those guys were like some of the first few guys to have this injury. And so, back in that decade, the 70s and 80s, you just didn't come back from it. I think the first one to have that kind of comeback was Earl Monroe.
What we learned from this
Okay.
is that next time you go to the court to play pickup games,
Okay.
and there's always that guy there that says, yeah, I could have went pro, but man, I blew out my knee.
Tore my ACL.
That's a lie, because they can come back from that.
Totally. Well,
that is not a career-ending injury.
If you have access to good medical, training staff.
Killing the joke here.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you killed the joke. It was funny until you
it was funny until you think about it logically, honestly. So, anyways.
Well, that's all, everybody. I hope you can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook,
I'm not
on YouTube,
done yet. So
Tinder.
the data that I said earlier of how all that stuff declined, if you apply those numbers, if you apply that research to Porzingis, taking what he averaged before and applying those percentages, here's what we could expect this season.
From Porzingis.
28.5 minutes per game. So I think right at about 30 minutes, maybe.
I was thinking 30, 32 minutes a game.
18.3 points per game, which I think in a few episodes back, we were talking about this, and I think you said, probably 18, 19 points. 5.7 rebounds. That's a little lower than I would like.
For a 7'3" guy.
Yeah. 1 assist per game, 1.9 blocks per game, 41.6% shooting. So honestly, it's not bad.
Well,
but there's some like the rebounding and the shooting I would like to be higher.
I was going to say, I don't think you count that as a successful year. I think that would be kind of a disappointing year.
Yeah. The rebounding particularly, and if he shoots below 42%.
Yeah, I think his shooting is going to be high. Only because of the way Carlisle always gets open shots for anybody. And so he's never going to really shoot a contested shot.
Yeah.
He's going to be shooting open jumpers. So I think his shooting percentages will be fine. My prediction personally is going to be 21 a game.
Wow.
32 minutes, below 32 minutes, over under.
Okay.
Under.
Okay.
7.
I like how you gave yourself your own
under,
over under, and then you
under.
took the under.
Yes. I'm going to say 7 rebounds. I think part of him building the strength was to be a better rebounder. So I actually, for some reason, think he's going to be a really high rebound guy this year. I don't know why. It's just because I want him to, because I'm biased. Yeah.
Luka is a high rebound guy.
And his blocks will be, I think, at 2 a game.
Yeah, 1.9. Yeah. I mean, I think he was averaging 22.7 before. I think if he got to 20, I'd be happy with that. I'd like for him to shoot around 44%. I like the 7 rebounds again.
Yeah,
like
I think a good number for him would be above 45. Like 47% would be a really good number, because ultimately he should be around 50 because of the kind of shots that he's going to get. It depends on how many
threes he shoots.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So, anyways, this was pretty interesting. All the data is there, and it's going to be interesting to look back at the end of the season or halfway through the season to see if the data plays out, like if the research plays out based on the averages. But again,
I hope not.
Yeah. I mean, but like you said, if you look at the segment for guys that were 22 or younger, that those numbers are different. If you look at guys that are just all of the players, that tells a different story. So there's a couple of different ways that you can create the projection. You can see all of the numbers. We took the averages from the players of that segment and then applied that to Porzingis. So there's actually a few projections for Porzingis that you can see in that article. It's on DallasHoopsCast.com. The article also goes into should the Mavs be worried about his injury history? will his height play a role? There's a stat on tall players from 538.com that talks about, do taller players have more injuries? Does the Knicks training staff suck? I think we assume every part of that organization sucks because it's the Knicks. So kind of goes into that to see what role they might have played. One interesting quote, this quote just really struck me whenever I was writing this. I found this guy, Jeff Stotts. He's a certified athletic trainer. He runs the site instreetclothes.com. So talking about the Knicks training staff and did they play a role in Porzingis having all these injuries and eventually tearing his ACL? This guy, Jeff Stotts, he said, it would be irresponsible to ignore the fact that he's had a left quad injury, a left hip injury, a left IT band injury, all of these things in the left. Maybe there's something going on with that left kinetic chain. You got to make sure that these seemingly minor things aren't all connected and result in something major. He actually said that in 2016, which was 2 years before Porzingis tore his ACL in his left knee, which I thought was fascinating to be able to see that ahead of time. And it really did play out. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier, how with Porzingis, it's not just putting on more muscle. There's definitely something going on with his body that he needed to fix.
And I think he recognized, well, he even said that himself.
Yeah, he's talked about movement and balance and all that. So that was one thing in writing that when I read that quote, I was like, man, it really stood out to me. And this guy, Jeff Stotts, he also talked about how Porzingis might have to change his playing style. Before he was really mobile and running all over the place, and maybe he'll have to rely on that strength a little more and play more in the post. I don't know if Carlisle's going to do that, but he's definitely going to have to change something, like the way that he moved. Well, even if he is doing the same things.
He was really good with those rebound putback dunks.
Yeah.
And as exciting as they are,
they're a little dangerous.
Yeah, you might as well just go ahead and not do it.
Yeah.
You don't want to risk tearing an ACL so you can dunk on LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah. So anyways, it was really interesting to write it and to do the research. You can read the whole thing on DallasHoopsCast.com. And let us know what you think about the quotes that we shared earlier, the article. You can leave a comment there, or you can send us a message on Twitter. What do you expect from Porzingis this year? Which one of those projections do you think we'll see play out? Let us know what you think. That's all for this episode. We're into season 3 now of the show, and I'm excited about this season. Final prediction for wins.
50.
I think I'm going to be with you on that.
Maybe 70.
Okay. Anyways, thanks guys for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye. You look really tired.
I am.
Do you want to say bye? No, bye.
Huh?